Look, I got to be honest with you. I watched the game last night, and I thought it was very odd for Pep Guardiola to make the initial selections that he did, Kevin. But the difference was made when the changes came. Chelsea losing more players to injury. They've had a lot of problems with injury over the course of the season. That's definitely something that needs looking at. But when you're bringing on Chukwuemeka, Amari Hutchinson and Lewis Hall, and Manchester City are bringing on Jack Grealish and Riyad Mahrez, you know that there's a big problem. And bearing in mind how much Chelsea have spent over the course of the summer, that's got to be a worry, hasn't it?
It's extraordinary how thin the squad looked. I commentated on the game for talkSPORT International, and we looked at the team sheets, and it's that commentator's thing where you look through the subs and think, I've not really heard of that guy in terms of I haven't seen him play. And then you were looking, and I thought Amari Hutchinson did okay when he came on. Seen Lewis Hall play in the Youth Cup for Chelsea and seen him play a little bit under Thomas Tuchel. But, you know, it shows you the injury problems they've got, because Mason Mount was injured in training, picked up a knock this week. They lost 2 players in the first 20 minutes. Raheem Sterling went off virtually with the first action of the game. And then they lost Christian Pulisic as well. That said, there are still big issues there going forward. We talked before about the fact that it's not just the fact they're not scoring goals, they're not really creating chances. And I thought some of the attacking play was so one-paced against City, especially in the second half when the game was on the line. I know Lewis Hall had that chance late on and he ended up blazing it wide, but it was quite a tepid display going forward. And you go back, it's been an issue for well over a year in terms of creating chances, scoring goals. They averaged 2 goals a game in the league across the whole of last season. But it feels like those issues are embedded at the moment. And that's what Graham Potter's got to tackle. He's got to make Chelsea much more dangerous and unpredictable going forward.
The issue is that, you know, you talk about the length of time that Chelsea have had problems with scoring goals, but this season's even worse. I think there was a suggestion last night that Chelsea have scored 18 goals less than at this stage last season. I mean, I'm not entirely sure that can be true, but if it is true, that's a massive worry. The truth is they're not scoring enough goals. They don't create enough chances. They don't look like doing either of those two things. And when you look at the personnel that's available to them, you're scratching your head as to where they spent all this dosh on, because Aubameyang came on as a substitute in the first half, might as well have not bothered, and then went off in the second half as a substitute.
We've spoken a lot this week on the show about recruitment and how important it is throughout the Premier League. And I know you're of the same thinking as me, Sam, that Chelsea's recruitment for a number of windows has been poor. And I think you're seeing that now. I think Graham Potter needs at least this window and the summer to try and turn it around. Aubameyang has been a poor purchase, but there's no real surprise there because Mikel Arteta didn't want him at Arsenal. It was an odd move to bring him back to the Premier League. I think his best days are very much behind him. And you look at the golfing quality between the two squads, as Kev said at the top of this piece, it's stark. I don't think Chelsea have got any chance at all of finishing in the top 4. They might not even finish in the European place. There's so much work to be done. But I don't necessarily think you can really lay the blame at Graham Potter's door. The tools he's been given are simply not good enough.
But the Chelsea fans are doing that. And last night on the sports bar, straight after the game, there was lots of people piling in and having a go at Graham Potter. If you look at his body of work as the Chelsea boss, do you think that he is going to be able to survive this pressure, Kevin? Because we talked about this on the podcast, I think it was on Monday morning or Tuesday morning when we did the first podcast of the week. And we were discussing the fact that Chelsea's approach to the way they manage their coaching team, they want to change it. They want to be a little bit more patient. They want to build for the future. They want longer-term projects. We've seen Benoit Badiashile join this week from Monaco, and they've given him a 7.5-year contract. Chelsea now, it's almost determined to sort of send this message that this is all for the long term. But can their patience extend to not being in the Champions League, not being even in the Europa League next season?
It's got to. Otherwise, there's no point bringing in a project guy like Potter and then saying, oh, well, it didn't work in the first few months. See you later. We'll bring in the next guy. It just doesn't work. If you're going to do that, you have to use Mikel Arteta's phrase, trust the process. However, it was interesting listening to Thomas Tuchel recently. Obviously, he would know better than most about Chelsea's boom and bust cycle. And he said it's all very well saying trust the process and wanting people to come with you. But ultimately, if you don't get at least some of the results to go with it, people lose faith in the process and the whole thing falls apart anyway. So he hasn't got infinite patience, Potter. He hasn't got infinite time. And that's why I do feel bringing him in, even though I think he's a terrific coach. I'm a massive fan of what he did at Brighton. I think he's a really smart guy. I think he's a great coach. But this is the ultimate test because you're basically changing the entire ethos of a football club that's been in place for 2 decades. And you're saying, right, we're going to change the whole thing. It's a massive ask. It really is.
It's a massive job as well. Kai Havertz's performance again coming under scrutiny. He sort of slipped into a number 10 position after being the point man early on in the game. What does the future hold for him? I mean, Crook, you've often raised the question, what is he going to do? Where is he going to do it? I know Kev's a big fan. Where are we standing on Kai Havertz right now?
Obviously, he's written his name in Chelsea folklore with that goal in the Champions League final. But for me, he just isn't good enough. I know Kev will tell me he's being played out of position. That's probably right.
Yeah, but he can't be not good enough, is it? I mean, obviously, this is a guy who leads the line for Germany. He's played well in German football. It's not that he's not good enough. Are Chelsea getting the best out of him? I mean, this is a very talented player. You don't spend £72 million on a player if he's not good enough.
How much was Timo Werner? He wasn't good enough either.
35 million quid, something like that.
Again, it goes down to recruitment. I sympathise with Kai Havertz because he signed at a time when the country was in lockdown. I think that definitely had an impact on both him and Timo Werner mentally. But with the greatest one in the world, is he going to score the goals to fire Chelsea to where they want to be? It isn't going to happen, Kev. It isn't going to happen. I'm sorry.
Well, look, he's 23. He scored a Champions League winning goal in a final already. He scored the winning goal in the final of the Club World Cup for what that's worth. He has scored brilliant goals for Germany. I thought he played okay for Germany, actually, at the World Cup. And he has been messed around. He's been put in different positions. He's had to adjust to a new league. He had COVID after he first arrived. That set him back. It was quite a hefty dose of COVID. And look, he has not played in the way that I know he can play. I've seen him many, many times in Germany. Has he hit those levels enough? No. But considering he's had a relatively short career, he's packed a hell of a lot in already. Scored that brilliant goal for Germany against England at Wembley recently. The talent is there. The quality is there. It's about the right coach getting the best out of him because I think there's still enormous potential there.
Yeah, absolutely. And get what Crook's like. Unless you're scoring a hat-trick every game and getting 10 out of 10 performances, you're rubbish and should be discarded.